nderuar, mirëmbrëma dhe mirë se vini në emisionin Jeta në Kosovë. Ditëve të fundit, misioni e EULEX-it në Kosovë është përballur edhe me një aferë të madhe. Maria Bamej, e cila deri javën e kaluar ka qenë prokurore e EULEX-it, ka dalur publikisht me akuza se hetimet në EULEX janë të ndikuara politikisht, se ka pasur rrjedhje të informatave nga zyrja e EULEX-it dhe se të akuzuarit janë informuar për rrjedhjen e hetimeve. Dhe më e rënda, se dyshimet për korupcion dhe rishfet ndaj njerit nga gjykatësit e EULEX-it janë heshtur dhe nuk janë konsideruar seriozisht nga misioni. Me mua në studio janë familjarët e të akuzuarve dhe të viktimave të rastit të quajtur vrasja e 3 fesht që ka ndodhur në vitin 2007 në afërsi të Kaçanikut, ku janë vrarë një 16 vjeçar, një 17 vjeçar dhe një 28 vjeçar, të gjithë anëtarë të familjes Baftiu. Këta familjarë së bashku me familjarët e të dënuarve, të gjithë kërkojnë rigjykim. Familjarët po ashtu pohojnë se kanë grumbulluar 300.000 euro për t'ja paguar Francesco Florit, këtij gjykatësit të cilën e ka ekspozuar Maria Bamej, për t'i hedhur poshtë akuzat ndaj shpenqërimit dhe Besnik Hasanit që sot janë të dënuar dhe janë në burg të Dubrovës. Sipas tyre, këto para kanë mjaftuar, në fund është kuptuar që këto kanë mjaftuar vetëm për të liruar Nusret Cenën, të akuzuarin e tretë. E para se të flasim me këta familjarë që i kam në studio, të ndëgjojmë intervistat me Maria Bamejn, prokurorën e suspenduar të EULEX-it, sepse është suspenduar dhe si janë heshtur hetimet, si kanë rrjedhur informata e hetimeve të EULEX-it. Të dëgjojmë çka më tha ajo mua dje kur e bëra këtë intervistë. Maria Bamej, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? We know you were a special prosecutor until last week. Tell us a bit more about your background. What did you do? Who are you?
I'm just a prosecutor doing my job in the UK. I'm from the United Kingdom. I was a prosecutor there for 17 years. And I've been in Kosovo for the last 7 years, doing the job of a prosecutor.
What exactly have you done in Kosovo for all these years?
I've done many cases. I can highlight some of them. They've nearly all been high-profile cases. I did a case of Marko Simonovic, which was an ethnic hatred case when I first arrived in Kosovo. He was sentenced to 15 years. I did a war crimes case against a man called Vujovic. He was sentenced to 5 years. I've done the Clinton bombing case where they were sentenced to 25 years. I've also done the case against the Ministry of Community and Returns, where I prosecuted 2 ministers and 1 permanent secretary together with other lesser officials, and they were sentenced to 3 years each.
Have you done any Albanian politicians?
I've done Zabrazaku, the mayor of Kaçanik. I have also prosecuted Ilir Tolaj, who was a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health.
And you've also done Samir Joshtaku on the case where I'm involved, but since I am an involved part in that, I don't want to talk about that. I want to move on to the revelations that have began about you this week. In the daily newspaper Koha Ditore, this week you have talked about allegations of corruption within EULEX. What's going on with this darker side of EULEX exactly?
Well, firstly, I want to say that up to yesterday, I had no contact whatsoever with Koha Ditore. I never handed them or anybody else any documents. I thought it was important that I had to protect my reputation, which was being denigrated by EULEX.
How were they denigrating your reputation exactly?
They were suggesting that I was not good as a prosecutor, and they were trying to defame my character by suspending me for having spoken to the press when I hadn't done so. And for many years since I made a complaint of corruption, I've been the subject of victimization time and time again. They were not doing anything about it. And they decided to shoot the messenger rather than deal with the message. And I was under attack from them. And the only way I can protect myself is because I'm bringing a claim against them in Brussels, was to come out now and speak about what has actually happened.
Today, Kosovo portals are full of stories about you. Did you talk to any of them?
No, I didn't. Only to Coheditore yesterday and to you today. And I'm talking to some international media in the course of this week.
Tell us exactly what are you accusing EULEX of, and why now? Why now when the mission has suspended you?
Well, I haven't accused them now. I accused them in 2012. I didn't even accuse them. I said, listen, I've come across intercepts in the course of my work which suggest that there is something suspicious going on with the chief EULEX prosecutor and Mr. Francesco Florit.
How did you have access to this?
I was investigating the Tolai case, and we had lawful interceptions on Mr. Tolai. Mr. Tolai was in regular contact with intermediaries. These intermediaries were allegedly meeting with Francesco Florit to negotiate the release of Ilir Tolai.
Who's Francesco Florit?
He is a chief EULEX judge. He was president of the Assembly of Judges.
Hang on. The suspected Secretary of Ministry of Health was meeting with the head of appeals judge?
Yes.
Of EULEX?
Yes.
Personally he was meeting?
No, he was in prison. But he had his intermediaries meeting Francesco and then reporting back to him.
Saying what? When the intermediaries were meeting with the Italian judge, what were they saying in these intercepts?
They were saying that Francesco Florit cannot get involved at this stage because we're at the investigative stage, but he's going to speak to my boss, Yaroslava. The plan was to remove me from the case and put somebody else in my place who would then release Mr. Tolai.
Are you sure this is not part of your paranoia?
I'm not paranoid. I know EULEX have tried to suggest I am, but these are facts.
How? What are your facts on this?
They are contained in interceptions, which, by the way, for EULEX's information, I still am in possession of, and which you have the voices of the intermediaries speaking to Mr. Tolai on his phone, reporting back what Francesco had said to them.
Do you have any other proof? Did the behavior of your superiors change towards you after?
Oh, definitely.
You challenged them with this, or they
Yes.
knew about this? How?
Firstly, I went to the head of justice. I went to my line manager, Sine Juteston. She said I had to report it. It was so serious, I had to report it. And it was my duty to report it, which I precisely did. No one told me about whistleblowing laws, that I should be protected, that I can give this information anonymously.
And you formally reported through the formal grievances, which we have access to.
Before that, I reported directly to the head of justice in front of Yaroslava, and I had to confront her directly.
Who's Yaroslava?
So Yaroslava Novotna was the person who was involved with Francesco Florit, and who was the person who was interfering in my case, trying to get me off the case.
Did she really try to get you off?
Well,
what is your proof she tried to get you off, apart from the intercepts?
Apart from the intercepts, she came to see me. The intercept said she was meeting with me to get me off the case. Then I did have a meeting with her that day. So obviously the people in the intercepts knew about my meeting with her. So I emailed her and I said, hold on a minute. Are we meeting about Clinton bombing or Tolai? Oh, no, about Clinton bombing. So I said, because your names are all over my intercepts, so I'm very concerned about this. And when she came to meet me, She knew chapter and verse all the rules about removing a prosecutor from a case. Even I hadn't looked it up that far.
Is that enough proof? She just knew her job.
The proof was that she hasn't interfered in anybody else's cases in the way she interfered with mine. The proof is that that meeting, I gave her a ruling of initiation of investigation, which she asked for. I gave it to her at 6 p.m. and I only gave her the English version. She didn't need the Albanian version. She doesn't speak Albanian.
And then, did you find results of your
The next day at 12 p.m., midday, the suspects were on the phone. They had met someone from Yaroslava's office who had translated my ruling into Albanian for them. They were speaking to each other, reading and repeating verbatim what was in my ruling. That ruling came from her office because on the intercepts they say they came from her office.
How was this hampering your investigation exactly?
It totally hampers my investigation. My ruling was secret. It was labelled with the court as not to be disclosed to the suspects. She leaked it to the suspects. When I met her and confronted her, she said it had been in her safe. Well, it could not possibly have been in her safe because somebody was reading it to the suspects.
But these intermediaries are people who hang around and try to contact not only Yaroslava Novotna that you have accused, but try to contact others. They try to contact you too.
They did indeed.
So why meeting with them is sinful?
No.
How do you know they were intermediaries? She could say, I didn't know they were intermediaries.
A meeting with them is sinful if you are part of the plan. And she clearly, there is prima facie evidence that she was participating in a plan because everything on the intercepts was happening in reality.
But the leak could have come out of your office. How did you know it didn't come out of your office?
It did not come out of my office.
How do you know?
Because I had that ruling for nearly a year. It was with the court for nearly a year. No one leaked it. If they were going to leak it, they would leak the Albanian version. The leak that came was from the English version, and she was the only one who'd got that version.
What happened afterwards with the Tola case? Exactly. You were not, after all, you were not removed from the case, so she didn't get to be successful, if you say that was her intention.
Yeah. Because we wrote letters, I wrote my grievance, and a lot of things happened which resulted in the case proceeding. She was interfering even at the time of the confirmation hearing.
How?
She phoned the judge, Mariola Pasnik, who was dealing with the confirmation.
And said what?
I don't know what she said to the judge, but she came back to me and said, oh, actually, there may be something to your case after all. Then,
why is this suspicious?
Well, she shouldn't be speaking to judges about my case. There should be separation between prosecutors and judges. Then my case was confirmed. They were absolutely furious with the way I drafted the indictment, because in my indictment, I'd put in all the intercepts. I'd given disclosure of all the intercepts to the defense lawyers, including Mr. Tolai. I had put in the intercepts which implicated Francesco and Yaroslava. On my panel was Judge Mikula, who's a close friend of Yaroslava's. I was treated with hostility during the whole of that trial by the judges.
How do you know that being placed in the trial is a conspiracy against you? Isn't there some form of independent way of choosing judges in EULEX?
Absolutely not.
What do you mean?
With the local judges, there's a voting or a ticket system. With the international judges, they don't have any system other than the chief EULEX prosecutor, the president of the Assembly of Judges, and the chief judge for each region will determine which judges he's got available to sit in any particular case.
So how did Novotna, being a chief prosecutor, not a chief judge, influence Mikula to be another Czech person to be precisely in your trial?
because she had contact with the judges. She was friendly with the judges. She was friendly with Francesco, as is clear from the interceptions.
Regarding Tolaj, you have, in the interview published in Coaditore, also accused a Minister of Justice, Hayreddin Kuchi, for interfering in the case. In which way did he actually interfere in the case?
Hayreddin Kuchi did not directly interfere in my case. He gave permission to Astrid Harachia to go to the prison to make a visit to Tolaj. I looked into this. I believe he did so innocently and wrongly believed that he was entitled to do so.
Why does a minister is ever allowed or put in position to allow another politician to visit a suspect in prison?
Well, that shouldn't be the case, but in Kosovo, a lot of people do not react upon good advice and may just react on the spur of, can I go and visit him? Oh, yeah, of course you can, rather than a considered decision. There was no criminal intent in relation to
But
this
Minister of
issue.
Justice licensing someone to go and visit.
It was wrong. He shouldn't have done it.
How do you know this did not affect your investigation, this visit? Was Astrid Harachia in any form a witness or involved in the
No,
investigation?
Harachia was not involved in my case, but obviously this was a case which involved allegations of corruption. And at that time, I think Astrid Harachia was being investigated by the local prosecutors for a similar allegation.
So allowing another suspect in another investigation, which in the public it was known that Astrid Harachia was a suspect in another case, to visit another politician, health secretary, is not wrong?
Well, it's not a crime if there's no criminal intent. If somebody does something without the intention, if Mr. Hayreddin Kuchi had sat there and thought, oh dear, I must send Astrid Harachia to sort out Tolaj to make sure their stories coordinate or something, yes, then there would be criminal intent. But that was not the way my evidence came out. I had no evidence that Mr. Hayreddin Kuchi behaved with the necessary criminal intent.
Anyway, in this case, you got the suspect sentenced. The court decided to punish Mr. Tolaj. That's why I will move on to the next case. Tolaj was not the only case where you started an investigation against EULEX or accused EULEX of corruption. Which other case?
Okay, let me go through the chronology. It might help you to understand. In 2009, there was an article while I was doing Clinton bombing one case, and I cannot now remember which newspaper.
Clinton bombing is the bombing of the Sekiracha club, which was done in retribution for Triumfiriza's murder.
Yeah.
And this was done by a special unit of police officers. Go ahead.
Whilst I was doing the first trial against Besnik, Hassani, Shpen Karimi and Nusret Sena, there was an article in one of the press that suggested that Francesco Flora had been paid money. And I took no notice of it whatsoever, and I carried on with my trial, not suspecting anything at all.
So this is the same judge. Francesco Florit, which we can see in the photo here, is the same judge as previously involved?
He was the judge who dealt with the Clinton bombing.
Okay.
And the triple murder.
Okay, so this article comes out in the newspaper?
This article comes out in the middle of my trial in the newspaper.
And you know newspapers write everything. Do you trust this article?
I didn't trust the article at the time.
And?
I thought it was far-fetched and I didn't. I just carried on with my case.
And?
Thereafter, the triple murder case happened and Francesco Florit tried to sit on the panel of judges, but he was taken off the case. because the defence objected, because he actually found them guilty of the triple murder in the Clinton bombing case when they were never even charged with that, which was quite embarrassing for me as a prosecutor. Anyway, I carried on doing my investigations and started looking into Tolai. I came across the intercepts, and I remembered back what happened in 2009 in Clinton. I had a whole load of intercepts implicating Francisco and Yaroslava. I spoke to my line manager.
So the same intermediaries that were talking to Yaroslava, the chief prosecutor, were talking to the judge, Francisco Florit, too, in your intercepts?
Yeah. It was the same people chatting to both of them.
What were the intercepts referring to in relation to Florit? What were they saying about Florit?
They were saying that he was a good man, how he was going to help them. He couldn't do so as yet. But, I mean, it's all in the indictment. The indictment's public knowledge. All, well, not all of them, but the majority of the intercepts.
In the Tolai indictment?
In the Tolai indictment.
And what happened? Is there anything else to prove? Did you ever challenge, did you ever take these allegations to Florit if this is so public notice?
I did.
Did you challenge him?
I did. I called him to my office.
What did you ask him?
I had to get a statement from him because here I am with these highly suspicious interceptions, which I cannot hide. I have to disclose them to the defence, and I have to be able to explain them to the judges and to the people.
What did he say to you?
He gave me a statement, but before he gave me the statement, he said, "Oh my God, I've been so naive. I met with this intermediary, Eyüp Kamberi. I only met him twice. I don't believe there were only 2 meetings, but that was his story."
I only met him twice.
Yeah.
Listen, how can you only meet someone twice? You know, one time you realize they're an intermediary, second time?
Well, the first time he says, in his written statement, which is public knowledge, it is before the court, he said that he met with this person, they were organised some round table conference, and the person started to talk about Fatmi Alimai. And he didn't meet him after that, except that this person kept harassing him with phone calls, and he met him a second time, and this time he tried to discuss Tolai case, and then he threw him out. Well, the intercepts don't reveal any throwing out of anybody. They reveal detailed conversations with him. And conversations that must have come from a legally qualified person, because they talk about specific legal procedures that the ordinary person would not know about. So, as far as I was concerned, there's a grounded suspicion there. He also said to me, and oh my God, I was so worried the last time when they were talking in the press, because I just happened to have 300,000 euros to pay off my mortgage. And I was shocked by this because I could say for the rest of my life and I won't have 300,000 pounds to pay off my mortgage.
The Italian judge admitted to you that he had 300,000 in his account that paid off his house.
Yeah.
But there was a family member in the case you were investigating, family member of the accused, brother of Besnik Hassani, who was saying it's precisely that money that he collected for Florit.
But I didn't know that at the time. That came later when I started investigating Clinton bombing too.
Okay.
At which point...
I want to ask you about this because we have another source. We have this record of witness interview that has come to us. The brother of Besnik Hassani, Florim Hassani, has come to us and allowed us to use the record of witness interview, proces verbal, as we call it in Albanian, where he gave a statement to EULEX police where he testified that he gave 250 to 300,000 euros he collected to give to Francisco Florit, the Italian judge. And he did this through Mahmoud Halimi, his lawyer, and they
Right.
said they did this in Albania. He has allowed us to use this statement because family members have been asking for retrial because they gave that money thinking they will be released. And what happened? Flori didn't deliver. Maybe he wasn't corrupt. After all.
I don't know, and I cannot comment on the ghost investigation because I do not want to just jeopardize that investigation in any way whatsoever.
Is there an investigation going on?
There is an investigation, but let me explain to you the chronology. At the time that I spoke to Francesco Floret for the statement, I was dealing with the Tolai case. That was 2012. I made the report in 2012. EULEX did nothing about that report, and Francesco left, but Yaroslava carried on. After that, I started to look into the Clinton bombing 2 case.
What is that?
That is the second part of Clinton bombing, to prosecute the other people who participated in the bombing of the Sekiracha bar with Besnik and Spend. And in the course of that investigation, I got the information from Besnik and Spend that this money had been paid to Francesco.
You're talking about Besnik Asani and Shpencherimi, who are now in jail,
Yeah.
serving a jail sentence for Clinton bombing for,
Yeah.
what, 25 years?
25 years, yeah.
But they've been also punished for the triple murder case, which you started investigating, and which you think they're not guilty for?
I didn't investigate that case at all.
Why? Why not?
Because it was never my case, ever. It was the case of Gianfranco Gallo in Antmic Times, and it then became the case of Recep Malaku in SPRK. So I never investigated, and I had never had any dealings or made any decisions on that case. But I do know that Francesco Floret wanted to be the judge in that case, and the defense objected to it. But in relation to the Clinton bombing case, a year after I'd made my allegations in Tolai, the police came to me with evidence like that, saying that they had paid 300,000 to Francesco. They wanted me to complain to EULEX to investigate the matter. I told them I'd already complained in an earlier case, and EULEX did nothing.
Why do you think EULEX did nothing?
I think EULEX did nothing because they were trying to hide it. They found it so embarrassing that they couldn't cope with it. The easiest thing for them to have done there and then is to come out and say, we've had some serious allegations against the chief EULEX prosecutor and the president of the Assembly of Kosovo. We are taking those allegations seriously, although it must be borne in mind that people are innocent until proved guilty. But we're going to look into those allegations and deal with them as appropriate.
But they did. This is a proof that they did eventually open investigation because we have a witness interview.
They were forced into that.
Forced by who?
That witness interview was not selected in the course of the investigation. That witness interview was obtained by my police officers investigating Clinton bombing. It wasn't EULEX investigating that obtained that interview.
Then who
it
is
was
it?
me.
But
It was my investigation into Clinton bombing that resulted in that statement.
But in the end, your investigation resulted in an official investigation. Why are you complaining that there isn't any?
Right, let me
Floret?
explain to you. Let me explain. For 18 months they sat and did nothing. Then the police found these statements, yeah? They went to the head of mission and said, investigate. He said no initially, and I have the emails from the officers to show how disappointed they were that EULEX, despite getting those statements, still did not want to investigate. And then at the same time, I was being done by Yaroslava for parking and for...
Whoa. What do you mean being done by Yaroslava for parking?
She had recommended me for disciplinary investigation for illegal parking and having an intern. This happened at the same time.
Illegal parking? You park illegally?
I was investigated, formal investigation at taxpayers' money for illegal parking.
After you've officially put your grievance?
Yeah, but please.
But you agree you illegally parks?
I agree I illegally park. But everybody else gets an email warning. I get a full-scale investigation. But that's another story. Please let me explain about this because it's so important. I went mad when they tried to investigate me for illegal parking and having an intern. These investigations were initiated by Yaroslava and Jonathan Rattel. I could not, for the life of me, understand why I had emails from my police saying they would not investigate this, a serious allegation of corruption, at the same time they're investigating for me.
Why couldn't you get support from your boss, Jonathan Rattel?
Jonathan Rattel was in with Yaroslava.
How come? How come you didn't try to argue your case? You Westerners are argumentative. You argue.
No, Jonathan Rattel, when it comes to anything, says, oh, I do not know anything. If you ask him to speak to his higher-ups, oh, sorry, I can't, way above my pay grade.
But hang on, the official grievance you did, you sent in his address to. Did you get any reply from Rattel?
I was never given a reply to any of my allegations. They were buried. They are buried to this day. It is unlawful for them not to formally respond to me.
But one of the family members of the punished came to us telling us, the brother of Shpen Cherimi, which Ilir Cherimi, came to us and gave us a document which showed that he has officially asked Yaroslava to look into Florid and investigate Florid for 300,000 euros given to him. Yaroslava Novotna replied that it is that people who work in the EULEX mission are under immunity.
Nobody is immune for criminal offences.
Are you sure that people
positive.
like yourself are not immune, can just get off? Because we're used to Kosovo. We had UNMIK that was UNMIK Romanian police that was accused of murdering protesters. They get off very lightly. It was criminal procedures. They went back to Romania and not in jail.
No, no, no. That is because of the Romanian authorities. If you're seconded and you commit an offence in Kosovo, you are investigated in Kosovo, and your seconding authority then have to deal with you for any offence that is revealed from that investigation. If you are contracted and you commit a criminal offence, your immunity is lifted and you are prosecuted for the offence that you have committed, so long as it's a criminal offence.
This has never happened in Kosovo.
There is no immunity for criminal actions, none. It is in the Brussels Codes of Conduct, it is in the standard operating procedures. Nobody can come here and commit a murder and then wander off home.
But what is the responsibility of EULEX officials when a citizen of Kosovo, like Ilir Cherimi, wrote a letter saying that money was paid? He was a witness saying that money was paid to Francisco Florid, 300,000 euros, for release of a suspect, and the suspect was released. And the problem was that his brother was not released. So what is the responsibility of your mission to react to something like that when a Kosovo citizen reports it to you?
They have a duty to investigate any serious allegation.
No, you act like you're above the law.
I'm sorry, and I am embarrassed that some of my colleagues do act like they're above the law. And the fact is, EULEX does think it is above the law, and I will deal with that later in more detail. But what should have happened and what happened are two different things. When someone complains as a member of the public that they have been wronged by a member of EULEX and wronged in a criminal way, Yaroslava should have made a report to the head of mission, who should have reported to Brussels. Come
on, it's not just Yaroslava. You reported it. Didn't you report to head of mission? Because the formal grievance we have is directed to EULEX, Jonathan Rattel, and Yaroslava Novotna. So didn't you yourself report to the head of mission?
Yes, I did.
So You cannot tell me that superiors,
happen,
the tops, were not informed. Why are you trying to excuse them?
No, she didn't even inform the superiors. I know this. But even I informed the superiors. But the problem is there is no accountability in EULEX. EULEX does not believe that it is subject to the rule of law. EULEX believes that they are exempt from the rule of law.
Hang on, there's member countries who pay its due. They are accountable to member countries. It must be somebody in Brussels oversees EULEX. There must be.
They are accountable to the member states. That is for sure. And they carry out the instructions of the member states. But the member states do not get involved in the day-to-day running of the mission. They do not get involved in complaints made by Karimi or Maria Bamier. It is outside their jurisdiction. When we make complaints, it goes at best to the civilian ops commander, where it is buried. If we take action against the mission, they say, oh, no, we're exempt from the law. The EASS, which is the External Action Service that works under the Council, with the cases that have been brought against the mission in Brussels, and the Ombudsman, European Ombudsman, has even tried to investigate cases.
Such as? Which cases?
He has tried to investigate a number of cases of maladministration, not just with EULEX Kosovo, but around in other missions. And he has written a report. The External Action Service will turn around and say, oh, it's not us, it's the Commission, the Council. The Council will say, no, it's not us, it's the Commission. So when it comes to staffing issues or day-to-day running of the mission, there is no direct line of accountability. Everybody passes the buck. And the mission have been told by Mr. Giles Janvier, who was the Deputy Civilian Ops Commander. He came to the mission and he told me and a group of my colleagues on the staff committee who were talking about contracts and the EULEX responsibility for its staff, no, you cannot sue. You have no rights.
What were you planning to sue? What were you exactly planning to sue?
It wasn't me. Some of my colleagues were planning to sue because they have had back-to-back contracts for 4 years. And under that, they become employed staff, not fixed-term contract staff. And their contracts have said they were under the responsibility of their home countries, which was the jurisdiction they should bring their claims. No, you don't have any jurisdiction. We are exempt from the law. So I turned round to him and I said, Mr. Janvier, are you seriously telling us that as a rule of law mission, you are exempt from the rule of law? And he went mad. Woman, how dare you play with words? Started shouting at me. But that is the reality. They think they are gods. And they actually really believe that they're exempt from the law. So they do whatever they want. And that is the problem. No accountability.
Hang on, can we rewind a little bit regarding the 250,000 that was allegedly given to Francisca Flori for doing a job, releasing someone? Somebody got, did it do the job in the end of the day?
From what I understand of the allegation from Charimi and Hassani is that this 300,000 they believed was for the release of all three of them. From what I understand of the allegation is that when this money went to be paid, Francisco Flores said, no, it was 300,000 for each one of them. I can only release one for 300,000, and Nusret Sena was released. That was what was put to me.
So this then spurred that other family members speak about this in public. Otherwise, they were going to go ahead with the corruption. They didn't mind, huh?
Yeah.
So in that case, they accepted the murder, and they were going to give the money to release their family members.
But this money was given in relation to Clinton bombing, not triple murder, as I understand it.
So how come they got sentenced for triple murder then? How come?
They got sentenced for the Clinton bombing and for the triple murder, and Mr. Nusret Sena got acquitted of both.
We're going to talk to the families later.
Yeah.
But was there proof in the triple murder case? Because they claim they want to serve regarding Sekirocha case. They have confessed the blame there, not in triple murder case. What proof is there against them on this?
There is proof of one witness, an identification witness. And this proof is so weak that in any European country, it would not stand up to scrutiny. The witness has changed his account several times. The witness was shown, Shpen Karimi, before he actually identified him in the police station. The whole case stinks.
Hang on. The police showed the witness who to identify before they put out a parade?
This is what I am told. Furthermore, the identification
Why do you
witness,
believe it?
because the identification witness has said so, Ramis Tusha. He contacted a police officer and he made a statement to that police officer
saying
he was mistaken in his identification, that he was shown the suspect before the identification and he was identifying the person he was shown and not the person on the bridge. And I have these statements because I was reviewing the triple murder. But I was told by Jonathan, not told, I was ordered by Jonathan to close the investigation. And I do not know why.
Hang on. Did you make a formal request to ask for retrial of the triple murder case? Or was this just a conversation?
No.
Between
No.
colleagues who don't like each other?
No, it is much more than that. Before I went to Jonathan, I went with the police. I spoke to Reshet Malaku, who believes they're innocent. I went to Yusuf Menzeni, who believes they were innocent. In the triple murder first time round, they've tried to put forward evidence to the Supreme Court to say we believe that Besnik and Shpend are innocent, and the EULEX judges refused it and dismissed the additional evidence.
What would be their motivation to refuse and not accept
I
this?
can only say what happened. I cannot look into their minds. But at that time, Francesco Floret was the president of the Assembly of EULEX judges.
You have spoken not about two, but there were other hampered investigations. In Coaditore, there was a mention of a land case which involves a politician, a newspaper editor, about the land case inside and outside Pristina. Do you know anything about this hampered investigation?
Yes, I do.
Who are they talking about?
They're talking about Azam Sula and a number of other suspects. And the prosecutor in that case, who was not me, asked Jonathan Rattel to speak to Blatza, and he refused a permission.
Another prosecutor asked for a Blatza 3 case to be opened?
She wanted to speak to him. I also wanted to speak to him.
Which prosecutor? Can you tell me?
Diane Wilson.
Wanted to speak to Blatza about Azem Suda.
Azem Sula and a number of other people. I don't know the details of her case, but I know she wanted to speak to him and that her and Jonathan had a huge argument over it. He would not allow her to speak to Blatza. I asked to speak to Blatza because Blatza knows a lot about the illegal privatizations that went on. And I was looking into privatization cases as well and wanted to speak to him, but I too was not allowed. I don't know what Jonathan's reasoning was. One has to ask him.
Aren't prosecutors independent in their work? Can they not do the investigations about corruption that they find on their own?
I am independent, but when somebody is in protective custody, you can't go and see them just like that. you need to go through certain hoops and measures, in which case you need to go through Mr.
So what would
Rattel.
you say to some of our viewers who think Azim Sula is a powerful man in the PDK, former member of the parliament, very powerful in Kosovo politics and the leading party, that you as a mission do not dare open a case against a powerful PDK member?
Listen, I don't know how you or Coheditore have got the documents that you have, and I've thought about it long and hard. I've even thought of whether this has all come out for political reasons, whether it's PDK trying to get it LDK or LDK trying to get it PDK, I don't know, because Kosovo is like that. Whether Jonathan was approached, whether... You have to ask him. Why didn't he allow us to speak to Blatza?
On the other hand, they may say, you got a case against Fatmi Limaj, minister, powerful politicians too. You got a case against Sami Lushtaku, powerful minister. Sulejman Selimi, ambassador to Albania. It's not like you haven't been able, as EULEX prosecutors, to get to powerful politicians.
No, we have been able to, but I don't know why Jonathan made the decisions he did. I can't.
Is there fear of Blatza, or is there distrust of Blatza within EULEX? Although he gave you, would you say he is reliable? Can you, as a prosecutor, evaluate the credibility of Blatza as a witness?
I cannot evaluate his credibility because I have never met him, to speak to him, to assess him. But I know that Diane Wilson thought him credible enough to speak to. I wanted to speak to him, and I would then determine how credible or not credible he is, depending on how he answers the questions. But I think Jonathan may have made a predetermination on his credibility. I don't know. I don't know what was in his mind when he refused us access.
What do you say to people who listen to this and would say, well, this is just a bloodbath between professional prosecutors who did not get along for career or had problems making place for each one of them in a mission that is dwindling? Not everybody's contracts could not be extended.
Absolutely not. Because all these things that I have said, I've put in letters and emails going back to long before my contract came to an end. I have no need to have a bloodbath with them about
some
this.
Would say, Ms. Bame, some would say you have a need to make bloodbaths because even in some of the last jobs you had, you sued your former employees.
I sued my former employees.
Who did you sue?
I sued the CPS for discrimination.
Who is CPS?
Crown Prosecution Service in the UK. And I won substantial damages. And I'm going to sue them. And I will win.
On what basis did you sue?
I sued for discrimination. And I won.
How much did you win?
200,000.
On the topic of how EULEX staff is treated, we want to ask you about two cases. First, do you know anything about Enver Zumberai's murder in the north and the murder of Audrios Shenavizus, which is the Lithuanian police officer killed near Zvechan on 19 September 2013, EULEX staff?
I know nothing about Mr. Zimberai, but in relation to Audrios Shenavizus, I understand that there was an internal inquiry and a report was made by Mr. Yoni. The report was quite scathing of EULEX, and they put pressure on the author.
What do you mean, scathing of EULEX? What did it say?
Initially, it was saying that had EULEX provided an armoured vehicle, Mr. Audrios may still be alive today.
So Audrios went to the north of Kosovo, the most dangerous place in Kosovo, with a non-armed vehicle?
With a soft-top, non-armoured vehicle.
But why? Your mission looks wealthy enough.
Some people are making savings. That's what the whole downsizing exercise was about. unfortunately, they were trying to save money in the wrong place.
So did the report say this, or did the pressure make the report change?
I think the report may have been modified slightly, but that the person who made the report stuck to his beliefs that the staff in the north should have armoured vehicles to conduct their duties. In fact, they did have armoured vehicles, and just shortly before Audrius was killed, the decision had been made either by Hom or somebody else within the mission to...
Hom is head of mission.
To
Borchardt, in this case.
That they didn't need armoured vehicles, they could just use soft tops.
Ne e kemi pyet edhe anën tjetër se çka thot për këtë rast, sidomos bashkë në shtator 2014, sepse deshëm të bëjmë një ngjarje lidhur me atë se çka ka livrit në veri prej vdekjes së këtij polici lituanez, mos ka ndru situata e sigurisë, ne menduam që kjo histori është shumë e thjeshtë, EULEX-i nuk na lejoi të marrim intervistën me shokun e tij, që kishte qenë adet, i cili pranoi të jap intervistë, dhe në ndërkohë kur e pyetëm se pse nuk po na jep misioni leje me fol me antarët e misionit që kanë qenë që kanë qenë në makinën në cilën është gjuajtur e në cilën është vrarë Andriusi, ata na thanë që në mision me 1500 njerëz ne duhet kemi një menaxhment të mirë të komunikimit publik dhe për këtë i kemi zëdhënsat dhe leadershipin e lartë që të flasë në emër të misionit dhe në emër të stafit të tyre. Mirë po, atë sa kemi biseduar ne me shokët e Audriusit, policit lituanez të EULEX-it, ata thanë që ai ishte një njeri i mirë, solid, koleg edhe shok i mirë. Kjo ishte reagimi që na ka dërguar EULEX-i, pasi që nuk na e lejuan bisedën me kolegun e këtij polici lituanez. Kjo ishte çka kishte për të thënë edhe për krejt raste tjera. Maria Bamej, deri javën e kaluar, ish prokurore në Prokurorinë Speciale të EULEX-it. Maria Bamej, thank you for being open with Kosovo public. Maria Bamej, the EULEX whistleblower, thank you.
Thank you.
E dëgjuam çka tha Maria Bamej. Ne kemi kërkuar që të marrim edhe prononcimin zyrtar nga EULEX-i, pala tjetër, por askush nga ta nuk është treguar i gatshëm të ballafaqohet publikisht me këto akuzat të rënda që kanë dalë edhe nëpër media tjera gjatë kësaj jave në Kosovë. Ne megjithatë ja kemi arritur që të sigurojmë anën tjetër, të dëgjojmë çka ka pas të thotë i akuzuari kryesor, ish gjykatësi i EULEX-it, Francesco Flori. E për të ndihgjuar anën e këtij rrëfimi prej të gjitha palëve të përfshira në këtë tregim, ne u munduam ta kontaktojmë edhe Francesco Floritin, pikërisht këtë gjykatës i cili në këtë emision u akuzua që i ka marrë 300.000 euro për ta liruar një njeri. Zotni Floritin e gjetëm në shtëpinë e tij në Udine, ku po punon si gjykatës. Të shohim çka ka me na thonë ai. Zotni Florit, apo na tregoni mas pari kur ka qenë hera e parë që keni ardhur në Kosovë?
Merdita, unë kam ardhur në Kosovë në mars 2008, kam punuar gati 5 viti në Kosovë, si gjyqtar në gjykata në Prishtina, si gjyqtar në kombetar, dhe pastaj si kryetar e gjykatave EULEX-it nga viti 2011.
Të kemi thirrë në telefon këtu në Skype për me u mundu me zbardh pak situatën, sepse kemi pas më shumë se një burim i cili sonte në emisionin ton na thanë që ata dyshojnë që ju keni marrë të holla, më saktësisht fjala është për 250 deri në 300.000 euro, të cilat ju akuzoni t'i keni marrë për ta liruar një njeri nga dënimi. Çka keni me thonë ju për këtë punë?
Kjo janë rene. Ju tregoj, ishte pa vërtete. Ishte pa mundur dhe nuk ka kur far base. Tash neze mund, flas në gjuhë angleze, pse este më qartë.
Urdhno, s'ka problem, urdhnoni.
Faleminderit. These accuses are totally ungrounded. I have never received, never been offered any bribe from anybody. This is a nonsense. The decision to which we are referring is a decision taken by a panel where the other two members were one Norwegian judge and a Kosovo judge.
And yourself, right? You're president of the court.
We were three judges.
But as a president, you have an influence.
I was the president.
You have an influence as a president of the judges panel to set a decision one way or another. You know you have influence.
No, actually, this is not totally correct. In the sense that in a democratic way of working as a judge, you never impose decisions on others. Anyway.
Fine. Can I ask you, there are specific details about this particular decision that you made. Your name has been mentioned in official intercepts that have been done as a part of investigation on another case, Ilir Tolaj, the health secretary. In these intercepts, intermediaries are talking to the minister and to their intermediaries. They're mentioning you. This is what they are saying in the intercepts which Byrne has seen, and we have heard them in Albanian. I listened to them this morning. Okay. They say that you have, one of the intermediaries says, I had lunch today with that Italian, do you know, that Flori. We spoke to him at length. He's involved in the case. It is in his position to interrupt the process entirely. And in this longer conversation that continues in these intercepts, you are mentioned as a person who said that we'll look into this, that the prosecutor in this case is very difficult to deal with, but you will look at what there is to talk about. So I'm sure you know even the name of this intermediary because they claim they came to talk to you.
Okay, yes. So now you are mentioning the case, so-called Tolaj case. Mm-hmm. And I think, I've never heard this intercept, but I think that the intercept is referring to this Tolaj case.
Yes, okay. It is. The intercepts are a part of official court documents that we can access, open court documents that we can access, part of the Tolaj case. Okay,
very good. So it's not the case of corruption that you were referring before, okay?
No, but I have other documents referring to that. Can you please just address the issue of intercepts? Why are intermediaries in Tolaj's case saying that they talk to you?
Okay, Miss Jeta, this is a document that, if you want, I send to you later on email.
Yes, please, because we cannot see it right now, but tell me about it.
In this document, this is a statement that I signed directed to Maria Bamier, the prosecutor of the Tolaj case, where I state that a man called Professor Eyupi called me to meet me.
Yes, and this is Professor Eyupi is the one who is alleged intermediary in Tolaj's case.
Okay.
When Professor Eyupi called to meet you, what did they say?
Let me finish if I can.
Yes.
In this document, I denunciated Miss Eupi the day after he came to my office because he tried to speak to me about the Tolai case. And this document is dated 28th of June 2012 and refers to a meeting that I had with Mr. Eupi on the 27th of June 2012. And I denunciated him to Ms. Bamier because he wanted to speak to me about the Tolai case.
Can you tell me just how does an intermediary get to you? Did you know this person before? I'm just interested to know how does an intermediary in another case come to you? Who is he?
In this document, I tell all the story. And I say that he had come some times, maybe 5 or 6 times to my office.
Why did Ayub Kamberi, the intermediary, come to your office 5 times, Mr. Florit?
Because he came 5 or maybe 6 times because he introduced himself as a professor of law and he wanted to have a cooperation with EULEX, to have some lectures from EULEX judges, from myself personally. Okay?
Mm-hmm. And then, did he talk about lectures all those 5 times he came to you? Did he talk about professorial issues?
Yes, indeed. He spoke about very generic meeting, not very long. Of course, he was speaking in a manner which was not very professional. But there is one point that I want to make. He never had meeting with me only. There was always another staff member of mine present at this meeting.
Okay, and he mentioned can we
just a second. All these meetings took place in my office.
Okay.
And this declaration is signed by me and by my personal administrative assistant.
Yes, so can we just, to cut the long story short for our audience, can you answer, did he try to influence you, to use your influence to do something about Tolai's case? How did he try to do it and what was your answer?
Well, he actually mentioned the Tolai case. My answer was, I don't have anything to do with this case, and even if I had, there is nothing that I can do in this way. And I said, as it is written in this document, please leave my office, never to come back again here. I don't want to see you anymore here.
But did he come back again? Did you meet him again?
No, of course.
Okay, was this the first
and
time?
Just a second.
Was this the first time? Just a moment, Mr. Florit. Was this the first time he asked you to influence a case? Was this the first time or had he done it previous times?
No. In the first, actually, in the first meeting, he just mentioned the case of Fatmir Liman, which was going on at that time.
And what did he say about the case of Fatmir Limay?
No, he said there is, he was very generic, but actually I refused to have anything to do because it was not my case, and if I was the judge of the case, I couldn't have had anything to do with him.
I know, but are you saying he actually did ask for your help or influence over Fatmir Limay's case too?
Not at all.
No. Then in what context didn't he mention the case?
He simply said, it was a generic question, and then there was a person present, and a staff member of mine, so he couldn't go anywhere with this discourse. And also, I said both in the case of Lima and the case of Tolley, listen, I don't want anything. I don't want to hear anything about these issues.
But he kept coming back to your office. You kept allowing someone who was mentioning cases, wanting your influence, he kept coming back to your office 5-6 times.
No, this is the point. This is exactly the point that I wanted to mention before.
Yeah.
The policy of openness in my office was that anybody who had asked to meet me was allowed. Okay. But the condition was that there was someone else of my staff, and this would have happened only in my office.
Okay, Mr. Florit, we've explained that. Now I want to talk a little bit in length about a more serious accusation. Apart from,
let me finish one thing. Ere para che aika folur nelivia me raste tolai, un camberket declarivi kunder ti. Un camber nie kalzim penal kunder a te.
Mirë. Zotni Florit, tash e përfundum çështjen që ka të bëjë me përgjimet. Ju po thuni që ju e keni qit jashtë, mirë, por përgjime ata po thonë që ju keni thënë që do të shikoni çka mund bëni. Por si do qoftë, kjo nuk është akuza më e rëndë. Akuza më e rëndë lidhur me ju është lidhur me rastin e vrasjes së trefisht, ku akuzoheni që për 300.000 euro që i keni marrë në Shqipni, në Durrës, e keni liru njërin prej të 3 akuzumve, e keni liru në Srecenën. Tash tregomni, a i keni marrë 300.000 euro për me ju tha që si keni marrë 300.000 euro, po...
Nuk kam marrë 1 euro.
Mirë, a keni shku në Shqipni?
Jo, në viti 2009 dhe në viti 2008, me falni, në viti 2009 dhe në viti 2010 nuk kam ardhë në Shqipni asë një ere.
Njëra prej palve, zotni Florit, njëra prej palve e cila ka fol me neve, antar i familjes të njënit prej të dënuarve, që ka mendu që po i mledh paret për me ju pru juve në Shqipni që mi aliru vlaun, për neve thot që në këtë emision ka thënë që ju ka pa juve në Shqipni, edhe me juve ka shku me negociu avokati i ti. Ju ka pa.
Nuk eshte mundur. Në vërtetë nuk eshte mundur. Unë nuk kam ardhë në Shqipni në vitë 2009. Kjo eshte, nëse ai tregon që me ka pa, ai eshte, kjo nuk eshte vetëm një rene, ai eshte një budala. Me falni.
Nëse keni pas relacione edhe marrëdhënie kaq të mira në Kosovë, edhe me kosovar, edhe me shqiptar, pse e lshut EULEX-in, pse nuk ndejtët në Kosovë deri në fund të përfundimit mandatit EULEX-it?
Pse qeveria e Italisë ka ndërprek misionin teme, ka treguar mjaft the Italian government has closed my secondment to the mission.
And this has nothing to do, you leaving Kosovo has nothing to do with a sudden 300,000 euros that you used, that you had in your bank account?
Listen, this story of 300,000 euro is totally false. I never had this sum of money in my bank account. This is completely, okay. Maybe I have 300, but not 300,000. Listen.
Mr. Florit, didn't you pay your mortgage with 300,000 euros at that very time, when you were here?
Which mortgage?
Maria Bamei, the prosecutor, claimed on our program that she had questioned you, wanted your statement regarding your influence on cases, and you had confessed to her that you paid your mortgage in your house in Italy with 300,000 euros.
listen, Miss Maria Bamier has never asked me any statement about this case. If she had asked me the statement, I would have given the statement because I have nothing to hide.
Okay, it's true. It's not. This is not written. It is.
Listen, no, just a second, Miss Jeta. About the mortgage, I want to say that the house where I live now, I'm paying the mortgage and I'm going to pay for the next 23 years. Because I am not a rich person and I asked the bank the money to buy the house. We sold the house that we had before. We used part of that money, and the remaining money was a mortgage from we asked it from the bank, and I'm paying every month.
So are you saying you never mentioned, not on the record, but on off the record conversation with Maria Bamei, you never talked about any money that was paid as your mortgage in Italy at that time? You never even friendly discussed this with her?
No, frankly, I didn't have friendly or confidential relations with Miss Bamier when I was a judge in Kosovo. I didn't have friendly relations. Professional relations, yes. But I don't know why she should be interested in my bank account and
because there are members of the family who are officially declaring, making a complaint, wanting a retrial because they're officially saying that they collected money to give to you to release their family members and you only released one.
As I said, Spencerimi and Besnikazani were convicted by the panel on which I was president, and this decision has been confirmed by the Supreme Court in 2 instances. I was a panel of the members, and we, as panel members, we acquitted Nusret Sena.
Why?
Because there were not enough elements to prove he was guilty.
But the other 2 were convicted on based of the testimony of one witness, which later went to a prosecutor in Kosovo, Milaku, to tell him that he was under pressure to identify only one member.
No, I want to tell you one thing, Miss Jeta Jara. This is page 48 of the decision in the case of Besnikazani and Spencerimi, okay?
Mm-hmm. What does it say?
This is page 48, okay? The last but one page of the decision. The decision was 49 pages. And in this decision, the panel says, a last point. At the close of her closing speech, the prosecutor, Ms. Bamier, has suggested that if the panel had not found sufficient elements to establish the criminal responsibility of Nusret Sena for the facts described in the charges, it would have had any way to consider the facts as failure to report criminal offenses. This means that in her final speeches, Ms. Bamier understood that the elements against Nusret Sena were very weak and asked the reformulation of the charge against him.
But she was not prosecutor on this case.
She was the prosecutor of the case. She came to court 25 times. Why not the prosecutor of the case? What are you saying? Sorry.
It was Reshat Milaku.
Yeah. Rejat Milaku was the prosecutor in, maybe he was in appeal. Or maybe, I don't know, frankly speaking, I don't want to say things which are not correct. Maybe there was a second investigation against the rest of the group who was doing the attack at the Sekiracha restaurant.
No, we're talking about the triple murder case. Can we just stay here?
No, not the triple murder case. Not the triple murder case. We are speaking of the Bill Clinton bombing case.
Yes.
In the Bill Clinton bombing case, there were.
But I asked you about triple murder because Shpendasani and Cherimi are confessing their faults in the Sekiracha murder, that they got 25 years. They're not questioning that. Neither the family members, neither the victims are questioning that. What is being questioned is the triple murder case where you made the decision to release Nustretena and punish the other two. Can I ask you?
This is completely wrong. I have had nothing to do with the triple murder case. It is called in different ways. It is called the triple murder case. It is called the Le Pen's Bridge case. It is called the Baftiu Brothers case. It is the case in which...
these days it's called the Flori taking 300,000 euro case. Now, can you tell me, what did EULEX ever investigate this? Because these families made official complaints to EULEX. So I'm interested to know whether there was an open investigation against you. Do you know anything about this?
Frankly speaking, what I know is only from the newspapers of Kosovo.
You have never been contacted by EULEX leadership or EULEX investigative bodies?
No. By the EULEX prosecutor, it was me to ask them if I was under investigation. And at the time, they said there is only a preliminary investigation. You are not formally registered in the books, so to speak.
And did anyone? So they when did they inform you that there was a preliminary investigation going on against you?
This may have happened in April of this year.
April this year.
But no, they said, ata kanë treguar që në atë kohë nuk kishte time. Ata kanë bërë një deklarata ku ata tregojnë që nuk ka time kundër Florit.
Po, mirë, po palët në Kosovë janë intervistuar. Palët në Kosovë, hetim para prak të ne në kupton hetim. Edhe hetimi para prak është hetim.
Nuar si gjustar për 5 vitit, normal që kuptoj.
Mirë, atëherë hetimi para prak është një lloj hetimi. Atë ka marrë dikush në pyetje ndonjëherë, zoti Florit, lidhur me këto akuza?
Ja,
Kërkush?
formalisht jo. Neze me kërkojnë, unë jam gata të përgjigjet krejt. No problem.
Are you sure you never spoke, nobody in EULEX leadership worried about even their reputation? Did they never even contacted you to see what's your side of the story?
No.
Nobody?
No, just a second. Unë ka qenë kontaktuar ka ezaktiste një viti nga Mats Matson. Atëherë, ai ishte shef e departimentit ekzekutive EULEX-it.
Matt Mattison, apo?
Matt Matson.
Po e di. Edhe?
Ai me ka fituar në Prishtinë për një interviste.
Apo sheqit pas kam ftu për intervizë, do me thonë.
Po, por atë, në atë kohë, ishte vetëm një hetime e brendshme, administrative, tregojme. Okej?
Na këtu i thujmë hetim preliminar asaj, urdhno, po, edhe?
Kam ardhur në Kosovë brenda 2 dite. Ata me kanë kontaktuar, mas dita kanë qenë në EULEX-it. Unë kam sqaru çfarë mund të sqaroj dhe pas këtij takime Macon dhe një tjetër këshilltar juridik nga EULEX ka përpilluar një report. Kjo është report.
E çka thot raporti? A thot që kanë përfundu hetimet? A thot që...
Ata tregojnë, nuk është fjala time.
Mirë, çka tregojnë ata?
E brendshme që përfundon hetime administrative e brendshme e EULEX-it. Ata tregojnë që nuk ka baze për akuzë kundër Florit.
A mundeni me ndoqa...
Ndoshta para ka qenë marrë nga antares e familjes e Besnik Kazani. Por nuk ka kurfar arsye për të mendu që Florit ka marrë atë para.
Zotni Florit, a mundeni me ma qu që atë raport? A do të ndoni atë raport me ne?
Sinqerisht, kjo është rezervime, konfidencial. Unë nuk e dëshiroj. Tjetër dy dokumentat e mund. Por kjo është konfidenciale.
E pse është konfidenciale? Nëse, zotni Florit, nëse ju jeni të bindur në pafajësinë e juj, pse çka ka të fshehtë aty kur ju tregut anën e ju historisë, e ana tjetër që ju akuzon juve, gjithashtu e ka bo këtë zyrtarisht. Çka ka të fshehtë në ato dokumente që nuk mund t'i ndani me ne?
Është shumë qartë. Në fund e report, ata tregojnë që unë nuk jam fajtor.
Jo, nuk është e qartë, sepse ne nuk e kemi pa dokument. We haven't seen that document that says that you are not guilty. In the beginning you said you were never questioned, then it appeared that you were invited to be interviewed.
No, just a second. I didn't say that. I said that I was un kanë treguar që unë kurrë nuk kanë qenë intervistuar nga prokurore EULEX-it. Por ka një viti tash.
I asked you about, were you ever interviewed by EULEX? I didn't say by prosecutor of EULEX. Okay. I asked you 3 times, and third time you admitted you have been. Same way, we do not know whether you're guilty or not. It's your word against 2 other people, against family members and a prosecutor right now. So can we see the document which makes you not guilty? Can we see it?
Okay, no problem. I will send this document as well. It's not a problem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Florit.
I will send tonight this document. Then the denunciation that I did of Mr. Professor Yupi, and also the decision of the case, where it is written what I said before, that not even Ms. Bamier believed that Nusret Sena was guilty. Is it okay for you? Is it enough?
If we see the document right after the program, not tonight, I would like you to send it to us after the program.
Okay, no problem. If you don't mind. Immediately after the program.
Thank you very much.
I don't have anything to hide.
Thank you very much. Final question for you. Do you have immunity?
Okay.
As a foreign staff having worked in Kosovo, do you think you have immunity over criminal charges, or do you not?
No, formally I have the immunity, but the immunity can be withdrawn by the mission and in agreement with New York. And actually, it has been partially removed.
Would you voluntarily give up your immunity to face justice?
No problem. They can investigate whatever they want.
And would you come to Kosovo for this, or would you want? If it's up to you, do you accept to face justice in Kosovo?
For sure. No problem. Nuk ka problem, nuk ka dushim. Nuk kam, jam një gjyqtar në Itali, kam ber krejt korrekte, nuk kam kur farë të bej me këtë rane. Kjo është një film, nuk është një realitet.
Mirë, zotni Florit, faleminderit.
Just a second, can I say one last thing?
Yes. Urna, zotni Florit, çka keni me thonë?
Do you think that makes sense to receive money only from one of the accused so that the other two will denunciate you? Do you think that makes sense, as the brother of Besnik Ezani has said, that I would be paid 10,000 euros for the next 25 years?
That is something for a judge to decide. We can only ask questions. But for a final question, media here, these days, they're writing not only about you, they're writing about Ms. Bamey's also declarations or reports she has done. And they are saying the other side has also portrayed Ms. Maria Bamey as mad. Do you think she's crazy?
I'm not a psychiatrist, actually.
Excuse me?
I'm not a psychiatrist.
But you are a judge. Often judges need to decide on that too. Often evaluate people's personalities. So as a professional in that field, would you say she's a bit crazy?
No.
No?
I don't say that she's crazy. I don't say she's not crazy. I don't say anything about that. Anybody can judge by himself. Okay?
Then why would she make such accusations? Do you wonder what her motivations are?
The accusation against me?
You and people who have stopped certain investigations, internal investigations.
Listen, about what he did and the information that he leaked about the mission, it's clear that it is motivated by a sort of revenge, in my opinion.
Revenge for what? Revenge for what?
Because she was having problems in her office. And at the end, she has been suspended.
What kind of problems?
I don't know. I know only what I read from the newspapers.
Yeah, the newspapers have written about it. The problem that there was she has an internal investigation against her over a bad parking. That is what EULEX has started internal investigation on. Disciplinary procedure.
Frankly speaking, you don't suspend a staff member for a parking space, right?
Right.
Okay.
So what do you...
Okay, so this is a story told for those who want to hear it, okay?
But when we don't have EULEX telling us why they suspended her...
Another thing, about the reason of the accused against me, the reason is quite clear. Besnik Azani and Spencerimi are going to serve the rest of their life in jail. Now, I was the president on the first trial that found them guilty. It's clear that if they say the judge was corrupted, all the trial falls down.
Mr. Florit, Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you to you, Miss Jeta. It was nice to meet you.
Shikues nderuar, i ndëgjuam akuzat e rënda të ish prokurores e EULEX-it Maria Bamej, e dëgjuam çka pat me thonë gjykatësi Francesco Flori. Tash, po du me i pyet edhe qytetarët e Kosovës, të cilët kanë pritur drejtësi edhe nga zonja Bamej, edhe nga zotri Floridu, edhe nga EULEX-i. Me mua në studio janë Arben Baftiu, vëllau i të vrarit Sulejman Baftiu në rastin vrasja e tre fish në Kaçanik të Ura e Lepencit. Mendu Baftiu, babai i të vrarit 16 vjeçar, Urim Baftiu, Bujar Baftiu, i mbijetuari nga kjo ngjarje, i plagosur rënd me 11 pluma dhe Imer Baftiu, babai i viktimës së tretë në këtë rast, Neshat Baftiu, 28 vjeçar. Po ashtu, me neve në studio është edhe Florim Hasani, vëllau i Besnik Hasanit, i cili momentalisht gjendet në vuajtje të dënimit për 33 vjetë burg lidhur me këtë rast për këtë vrasje. Faleminderit të gjithëve që jeni këtu. E di që nuk është lehtë për familjen e juaj të jeni këtu në një studio, po megjithatë faleminderit për maturinë e treguar. Mas pari Arben, apo na tregon çka saktësisht jeni të kërkuar ju si familjar të viktimave?
Kemi besu në organet drejtësisë që drejtësia të vihet në vendin e vetë dhe dihet kush dhe pse.
Kur po thuni drejtësi, tregomni a keni lyp këtë prej EULEX-it?
Po sigurisht që po, edhe dje kam dorëzuar një kërkesë.
Zyrtare, a?
Një kërkesë zyrtare me 28-in 10-in.
Çka keni kërku saktësisht prej EULEX-it?
Kemi kërku rigjikim. Edhe prova shtesë të mirën parasysh edhe rastit kthehet në rigjikim.
Cilat prova shtesë?
Provat shtesë të prokurorës Maria Bamje, të prokurorit vendor Reshat Millaku, edhe dëshmia e Ramis Tushës, i cili në presion e palëve të caktuar, nuk ka tregu të gjithë të vërtetën lidhur me vrasjen. Dëshmia i është dhënë Reshat Millakut, prokuror special i Republikës Kosovës. Dëshmia e ditë dënuarve Shpen Qerimi dhe Besnik Hasani. Dëshmia e prokurorës Maria Bamje, që ka jetu këtë rast dhe i ka informatat e hollësishme në këtë rast.
Mirë, tregom çka tha EULEX-i kur ti kërkove në këto baza me ngritë rigjykim?
EULEX-i kryepkut zotri Jonathan Ratel. Më tha...
Që është shefi prokurorisë speciale?
Shefi prokurorisë speciale, më tha që mos i beso gazetës shtypit.
Çka i bjen kjo?
Kjo i bjen edhe vetë si më të kuptu çka ka ndodhë. Kjo i bjen që s'ka drejtësi. Let hapët në rigjikim edhe aty të vërtetohen faktet edhe dëshmi shtesë.
Apo beson ti që kjo është veç shpifje dhe film i medjave?
Po këto edhe opinioni publik e din që në këtë krim nuk janë të involvuar vetëm këta dy. Ka edhe tjerë të involvuar. Kush shndron mas kësaj? Pse hezitohet të rihapet rasti?
Normal. Me të vra vllau 16 vjeçar, edhe unë kisha dashur njëjtën përgjigje për te, sidomos dikush kaq i ri, një 16, një 17 vjeçar, që me siguri s'kam pas as ko mu rrit qaq me u përfshin krim të organizum, po faleminderit Arben që kjo ardhe, di që i rëm për ty me i rikujtu që to s'po du me ju rikujtu çastet vështira, po du thjesht më tregu çka po lypni prej drejtësisë, po du me ndigju edhe me nduhun, mendo, pse po kërkoni familja juaj me rihap këtë rast saktësisht? Pse po menoni që duhet mu i rihap sipas jush?
E kemi vret që a boni pa drejtësi shumë e madhe.
A jeni ju të kënaqur me veprimet e EULEX-it që ka bërë deri tash?
Shumë pak. Na, si mas informantave dhe dëshmive të popullit edhe gazeta, na po mendojmë që njerëzit shëtitën hala të lirë në komunën e Kaçanikut.
Bujar, ti je i mbijetuar nga ky rast. A beson se deri tash ka pas drejtësi?
Jeta, faleminderit për tezën. Drejtësi nuk ka pas. Drejtësia kone përgjithësuar pi fillimit edhe në mbarjen edhe rezultatet treguan se kone përgjithësuar. Megjithëse na viktima jemi barazu me kriminalin, edhe në sallë gjyqit, edhe në gjykat, kemi shpresën e kena pas më të madhe kur EULEX-i ka ardhur në Kosovë, që do ta thotë të vërtetën. Po jo, kur këtë ekspertizma, këtë kanë thonë që nuk mundet më bo me di vetë. Nuk ka shansë më bo në atë, edhe përfundimisht vendosim me dy vetë më dënu.
Faleminderit. Florim, apo na tregon çka është puna ma konkretisht direkt me ty, kisha dashur me ditë shumë shkurtimisht për fund të emisionin, çka është puna 300.000 euro? Kush ti ka kërku paret dhe çfarë garancie keni marrë që ka me u kry puna kur ti mbledhni paret? Kush ti ka kërku paret?
Mi ka kërku paret Francesco Flori, për ndryshe i kena mbledh me në Srecenën.
Ka dalë personalisht Francesco Flori a përmes dikujt?
Janë në përmes advokatit Mahmut Halimit.
E kush ja ka kërku Mahmut Halimit? Vetë Francesco Flori a përmes dikujt?
Ja, vetë Francesco Flori ka qenë.
Çka i ka thonë? Çka i ka thonë saktësisht Mahmut Halimit?
I ka thonë që për këtë punë për me kry, me i liru këto djemë për akuzës, i donë ka 10.000 euro në vit. Për një vit çka është, çka kushton, 10.000 euro në vit i ka kërku. Për një vit mja ik. 33 vjet janë kanë denun.
Edhe ju i keni mbledh paret, a?
Ne i kena mbledh 270.000 euro i kena mbledh. Unë i kom dham 50.000 euro, tjertë kanë mbledh. Krejt kanë dham, në Srecena kanë mbledh.
A bon vaki, zotni Asani që këto pare në fund nuk kanë shku te Francesco Florit, po ju kanë mashtru juve?
Ja, s'është e mundur.
Pse s'është e mundur?
S'është e mundur se në vetë Cena ka qenë i akuzum i parë për vrasin e trafisht, edhe Afet Dolloshi, Agrën Dolloshi, kanë qenë që janë marrë në pyetje më njerë që atë nesër janë marrë në pyetje, edhe janë liru për këtë akuzov. Punë ka vetëm Francesco Flori, ka marrë parë dhe ka liru Cenën.
E pse së liru vllojat, nëse i paske pagu paret?
Unë jam kom dhonë nësë Cenës paret.
Pse i ki besu?
I kom besu shumë.
A ja ki dhonë dorë, apo ja ki dhonë me dikon?
Në dorë dhe kam dëshmi me marrëm qërimin për bashkë.
Dhe në fund, a ke shku në Shqipniti vetë?
Jam kanu me Mahmut Halimin jam kanu.
Ti ki qenë me Mahmut Halimin në Shqipni?
Në Shqipëri, kem shkuj. Kom dhanu një deklarat, jetë nuk di sa e kem marrë atë deklarat, e kom dhanu edhe pse e mohon mbrojtë si besnikët Mahmut Halimi, thëtë se nuk kam qenë, po ato janë sene që vërdetohen.
Mirë, ti më trego vetëm ka, unë e kom pa deklaratën që ja ki dhonë të EULEX-it, të hetimet, para hetimet që jënë bote të EULEX-it, mirë po më tregom, ti personalisht, ke shku, si pas te, ke shku me Mahmut Halimin në Shqipni, pse keni shku?
Ka pas mu taku me Francesco Florin dhe u taku me ta, e kom pa kur u taku.
Qka ke pa saksisht me sy tu, Florim Kallxom?
Unë e kom pa Francesco Florin ku e ka prit në Durrës.
Ku e ka prit saksisht? Ku në Durrës?
Në Durrës ku janë ato terminalet e anijave, din?
Në cilin vit, në cilin datat kujtohet?
Nuk u kujtohet me datë, vitin është kur u denu besnikun që atë kohë, 2000, nuk jam i sigurt që në vit, po e kom dhonë në deklaratën ati.
A i ki pa të ja dhonë pare në dorë?
Paret nuk e kom pa. Takimi ka zhvillu afër 4 orë, kanë hip në aniju, i kom përcjell deri atje dhe e kom prit Mahmut Halimin prap kur u kthi. Masi e ka përfundu takimin, u kthi me mu prap për Kosovë.
Kur ka shku Mahmut Halimi në anije me Francesco Florin, a i ka pas paret me veti?
Jo, s'ka pas. O janë konë të bisedime për atë punë. Edhe mas andej ka ndryshu kretë, ka ndryshu sanet në basi u këthi, në masi nga ka premtu, e ka liru vetëm në Srecena.
A jo ndonë në dorë, në transfer bankar, a qysh?
Ne ja kem dërzu në Srecenës në dorë parët.
E qysh i ka marrë Flori si pas teje? Qysh i ka marrë Flori? Kujt ja ka dërzu në Srecena?
E ka pas në Srecena e ka pas në vlajnë e ti Afetin, në vetë Cenën,
E qysh ja ka dhënë Afecena Florit, sipas jush?
Ka pas takime, ma mërmen që ka pas takime.
Përmes Mahmut Alimit a përmes kujt?
Në përmes Azem Vlasit. Tu kanë qenë të dim brajt të involvu me Francesco Florin.
Qa ka ndodhë në gjykim mas këti momenti që keni dhënë pare, sipas jush?
Në gjykim është marrë vendimi vetëm në Strecena më liru.
Pra po të pys, qysh je i sigur që qëto pare të marrë parasysh që i njihni në Strecenen, që kanë shku saksisht e Flori? Qka ju shtin me garantu që aja ka dorëzu Florit?
Në shteneve sa ajna i ka lip, ne nuk jem konë të imledhë pare të ala, a i ka lip ka 270 euro për kryet njerit me i liru. Më kuptan?
E kur i keni dhënë ju paret edhe së kry puna, që i keni thonë ju ndërmjetësit ju i që jo liru?
E po, për atëherë ma mund të dhëna tratoj, nuk po kam më mundësi me bisedu me ta.
Kush ju tratoj?
Dhe për Francesco Florin, gjë se nuk po dënë tash më me vazhdu, a faktikisht ato pare që i kem ledh janë konë tamam për qatë person që i ka kërku, edhe u liru në Strecena, më vesh. Se për çka? E në Strecena u koni akuzu më shumë se vlajim në krim.
Znjasoni, në fund ditës, ka njerë që mujnë me thonë, po ka dalë se këta janë familjarët të vramen, normal që këta kanë qef, këta i kanë vloznit mrena, këta janë zërë me i shpëtu edhe tash mujnë me thonë gjithë shka. Francesco Flori veç me të kalzu që a tha, po natyrisht që ata janë burg, ata kanë me mshojt mu se unë i kom shtim burg. Qka i thuti që aty në njerëzve?
A ka mundësi vetëm bërë. Unë nuk kom kërku vlajem me dal jashtë burgit, mu liruaj krejt, ose me shti dikan tjetër pa fajshëm rana. Ne e kem kërku vetëm drejtsin, atë so e meriton vlajem, qofse e ka përcjell rastin për me ndimu krimit 100 hapa, po 1000 hapa, në ta merë denimin atë so e meriton. Kurse njerëzit tjerë që kanë bo vrasje, që janë konë grup me të, ato dijet që janë në Strecena, Agrën Doloshe dhe Afet Doloshe, ato rinë në të lirë, që ti në për qytetet që tha Arbeni ma erët Kaçanikit e Ferizaj, takon edhe unë i shof që nuk është kjo në regull që ka ndodhë.
Faleminderit Lori Masoni nga Gjermania, i cili po dëshmon që i kam ledh paret me ia dhon gjykatësit me cilët ne bisedum, i cili po thot jo, shikus nderuam, dëgjut të gjitha falët Marin Bamej, ish prokuror në EULEX-it, e cila insiston se është përjashtuar nga EULEX-it për shkak se nuk ka qenë pjesë e strukturave të cilat i kanë heshtur hetimet Kosovë. E dëgjuam Francesco Flori në anën tjetër, ish gjykatësi në EULEX-it, i cili mohon të gjitha akuzat ndaj tij për korrupsion, i dëgjuam edhe e i pam kërkesat e familjarëve të viktimave dhe të akuzuarve, të cilët kërkojmë rigjykim në rastin e vrasjes së 3 fish të ura e Lepencit në afërsi të Kaçanikut. Shpresojmë që EULEX-i do të vendos të jetë më transparent dhe më i hapur ndaj publikut e jo të hesht në këso momente të rënda për tërë sistemin e drejtësisë Kosovë. Ju vazhdoni na shkruani, raportoni në kallxo.com deri tajtën e ardhshme nga neve, natën e mirë.